My father reunited with his first love when he was middle-aged and they got married quickly. As a result, less than half a year after the stepmother came into the family, both of them died in a car accident. The stepmother also left behind a rebellious son. The old man's will required me to take care of this non-blood-related brother until he graduated from college, and only then could he inherit all his property. At first, I pulled my rebellious stepbrother out of the internet cafe with a sneer and pinched his neck to make him obey me. Later, he reached out and pressed my palm to his face and said in a hoarse voice, "Brother, slap me harder." 01. When I got the call from the lawyer, I was in the office listening to the executives talking nonsense. After taking care of my father and his wife's funeral, I started to deal with company matters. Although the old man was blinded by lust and had a flash marriage with his first love in his middle age, he still knew what was important. That's what I thought until I got the call from my lawyer. The old man and my mother had a business marriage, and they didn't necessarily like each other that much. They divorced peacefully 10 years after their marriage. Later, my mother met her true love, a French man. They now live abroad and have a mixed-race daughter. Growing up in such a family, it is normal that I have less family ties. So, when the lawyer told me that there was an additional condition in the will prepared by the old man, I really wanted to be unfilial and dig out his ashes to ask him what kind of love brain he was. The old man did leave all his inheritance to me, but with a condition. If I wanted to inherit all his assets, I had to take care of his stepson until he graduated from college. I had only seen his wife's son at the funeral. He was a rather lonely-looking teenager who was in his 3rd year of high school. But I have to say, he looks a bit like his mother. No wonder the old man loves him so much. Unfortunately, even though I knew that the boy had no living relatives, I had no intention of caring about him. Being a Madonna is a difficult thing, and of course, so is being a holy father. So, I looked at the lawyer expressionlessly. My dad is saying that I can only inherit half of his assets until that kid graduates from college? The lawyer's tone was calm. He said, "Yes. I can't argue with the dead. After all, not all parents in the world are normal. Accepting that my parents don't love me that much is also a lesson for me in growth. The old man treated me as his heir, and my mother treated me as a task. Only after I was born did they truly breathe a sigh of relief. But the old man obviously did refresh my understanding a little. He actually made plans for other people's sons early on. The lawyer showed me the information of my brother who was not related to me by blood. I asked casually as I flipped through it, "His name is Taylor, right? How are his grades?" Maybe I have long been accustomed to some of the rules of this circle, and there is no way to argue with the dead, so the only thing I can think of now is to solve the problem. Before the lawyer could answer, I turned to the next page about Taylor's performance in school. In the column of grades, I have only one word to describe it: bad. During my school career, from elementary school to graduate school, I experienced skipping grades and being admitted without taking the entrance exam. It was hard to imagine that one day I would have to take care of a student with such poor grades. To put it bluntly, if I sprinkled some rice on the test paper, a chicken would do better than him. The old man really left me a difficult problem before he died. Seeing that I looked unhappy, the lawyer said cautiously, "Jacob, there is one more thing. Taylor had a conflict with someone at school today. The school has called the parents. If you have time, why not go over there?" I sneered when I heard that and said, "Why did you come to me today? It turns out that the time has come when you have to find me." I see. Having said that, I still have no plans to go there in person. In my opinion, it is very simple to manage someone for a few years. Just pay them enough and let them manage it. I quickly arranged for someone to go to this younger brother's school. However, the feedback I received was not optimistic. The person I arranged replied that not only did he not meet my younger brother, he even received a very bad evaluation from his class teacher. For a student who has poor academic performance, or even has no interest in studying, skips classes, and causes trouble, it is questionable whether he can be admitted to university. It is too far away to think about graduating from university now. I have a headache. The worst thing was that a few days later, the person I arranged called me and said that the guy not only ignored him, but also asked him to tell me not to meddle in other people's business. I was so angry that I laughed. He made it seem like I was happy to deal with him. If it weren't for the old man's will, I would have forgotten about this person very quickly. Taylor is already a senior in high school. If he continues like this, he may not even be able to get into a junior college. Of course, I don't care about his future, but I care about the assets left by the old man. After the people I sent out couldn't do anything with Taylor, I called Taylor. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. A voice with a distinct boyish tone came from the other end. "Hello." I was silent for a moment, then said, "I'm Jacob." Although my self-introduction was brief, the person on the other end obviously knew who I was. He sneered for a moment and said, "It's you. What's the matter?" There was some noisy talking and gaming sounds coming from his end, like he was in an internet cafe. My tone was very calm. "My assistant should have contacted you. Due to my father's last wish, I will provide you with the necessary help before you can become independent. If it is convenient, I will hire a tutor for you and provide you with some financial support during the rest of your high school career." I certainly wouldn't tell him that this care was closely related to the huge inheritance I was going to inherit. After saying this, I waited for his reply. But within 2 seconds, I heard a sneer from the other side. "Because of my father's last wish? Is it better to say that you are filial or kind, Jacob?" There was a hint of sarcasm in his tone. "I'll just say this once, I don't need any tutoring or financial help, so you and your assistant should stop bothering me." After that, the phone was hung up. I frowned as I heard the beeping sound in my ear. This kid named Ning really doesn't know what's good for him. But I didn't mean to give up. The old man did leave me a difficult problem, but I didn't believe that I couldn't control a brat who was still in high school. There have been a lot of trivial matters in the company recently. As the saying goes, a new official has 3 big things to do when he takes office. If I want to secure my position, I naturally have to let those old hands know my methods. After that phone call, it took me a week to get around to meeting Taylor. I have had people observing Taylor these past few days, and as expected, despite his status as a high school student, he is indeed an uneducated little bastard. They are the type of people I had no contact with during high school. It was drizzling that day, a weekday, but I came to the internet cafe to look for someone. Taylor is obsessed with games. He doesn't even attend classes and just thinks about playing games. Of course, the news I got is that he is quite famous in this field today. The sound of rain outside was getting louder. I got out of the car, holding a black umbrella. The rain fell on the ground, splashing on my leather shoes and black trousers. I looked through the rain at the internet cafe that was open for business. People were walking in or out in groups of 3 or 4. I stood there for a few seconds, just in time to see a tall and thin figure walking out. He was carrying a black backpack in one hand and walked into the rain as if he was oblivious to the gradually getting heavier rain, with a look of sleepiness from the whole night. I walked over slowly. I recognized Taylor's face. He was good-looking and stood out among the crowd. But looking at the way he walked, I couldn't help but frown. He looked so unruly. "Taylor!" I called him. The boy was a little slow to react and subconsciously turned his head to look at the source of the sound. Then our eyes met. I could tell from the look in his eyes that he recognized me too. The boy's eyes suddenly turned playful. "Jacob, what do you want from me?" The ends of his hair were wet by the rain, and when he pulled his hair upwards, his smooth forehead was exposed. The advantages of his facial features were revealed, with a hint of aggressiveness. I am not a person who is polite, so I came straight to the point and said, "I hope you will reconsider what I mentioned to you before." He looked unhappy but said with sarcasm, "I told you I won't consider it. Why? You rich people just force sales." "Excuse me," I said calmly, "but you probably haven't seen how we rich people really force sales. You wouldn't be as patient as I am to waste time with you here." I admit that my tone was a bit condescending, but this kid really needs to be taught a lesson. Anyone with a bit of common sense should understand that accepting my help now is the best option for him. I don't care what his insignificant self-esteem thinks. I just know that this is actually a win-win cooperation. I got an inheritance and he got a good future. Even if his grades are so bad that he can't even get promoted in the end, I don't mind spending money to send him abroad to study. Taylor sneered after hearing what I said. "Why do you have to force money on me?" Your father is dead anyway, why do you care about his last wishes? Not only did he like to help others raise their sons, he also liked to let his son raise other people's sons. You really want to be this unlucky guy, Jacob? He knew my name. I usually have a bad temper, but I can pretend to be good when I'm outside. But what this kid said was really harsh. I took a few steps forward and gradually approached Taylor. His face was wet with rain, and he looked at me with a defiant look. I threw the black umbrella aside without warning, and the rain fell on me naturally. I took action, reaching out and pressing the boy in front of me against the wall behind him. In fact, I just wanted to shake the water out of his head. Taylor was obviously not a quiet person, so I put my hand on his shoulder and the other on his neck. Looking back, I don't know why I grabbed his neck at that time. Maybe it was because Taylor's neck looked long and white, which made it easy to pinch. Taylor, you are an adult now. Don't be like a hedgehog and prick others. Your family background has nothing to do with me. You should not vent your anger on me. It will do you no harm to accept my help. Also, according to the order of seniority, you should call me brother. He looked up at me, and the Adam's apple under my palm seemed to slide slightly. The rebelliousness between his eyebrows was still clearly visible, and our faces were very close. I heard him pull the corner of his mouth and say, "What kind of brother are you?" We parted on bad terms. The old man really caused me a lot of trouble. I have never seen such an ungrateful boy. I even thought about sending him abroad to gild his reputation after a few years when he had been beaten by society and realized the importance of money and power. In a few years, this kid will be taught a lesson by society. Normally I'm not a pushy person, but he's tied to my inherited property and there's no way I'll let him go. The company's affairs have been very busy recently, and there have been a lot of problems on the board of directors. I can't spare the time to take care of Taylor for the time being. Another week passed, and I received a call from Taylor's class teacher on my cell phone. However, the place I went to was the police station. I met a lot of people in the police station. I had just left a meeting. I was dressed in a suit and tie, and even my hair was neat and tidy. When I came in, many eyes were on me. I quickly found Taylor in the noisy crowd. He was sitting alone in a corner. Not far away from him were a few boys in the same school uniform and their parents. I don't know if it was the class teacher or the dean of studies who was constantly comforting the parents. Those students had bruises on their faces and bodies, and of course Taylor also saw a wound on his face. But he sat there quietly by himself, like a person independent of another dimension. Aloof. My arrival made him look up, and I didn't miss the moment he frowned. "Excuse me, are you Taylor's parent?" The person who asked me should be his class teacher. "I'm Taylor's brother," I replied calmly. "What happened?" As soon as I finished speaking, a middle-aged woman came forward excitedly and pointed at the boy's cheek and said, "Look at what your brother has done to my son. How do you teach your children? If there is one, there will be a second one." Another middle-aged man also pulled his son forward, shouting, "My son's grades are among the best in his grade, and now his hand is injured. Don't you know how important the third year of high school is? What if it affects my son's studies? Just because your brother doesn't study doesn't mean my child won't study." It was so noisy, like a vegetable market. Taylor stood up and was about to walk over to say something. I looked at him and the boy paused. I looked back at the scene and counted them, 5. Everyone had injuries on their bodies, but they looked to be minor injuries. It's this brat who doesn't even know how to make his move wisely. What's the difference between hitting someone in the face and giving them something to hold against you? "Excuse me," I finally said, "you mean the wounds on these students' faces were caused by my brother?" "If it wasn't him, who did it?" one parent said excitedly, like he was protecting his child. "Could it be that my son hit himself?" I looked at Taylor's homeroom teacher and asked, "Teacher, can you tell me where the conflict happened?" "In school." The head teacher paused and said, "No, it's in an alley near the school." This answer does not surprise me. If it happened in school, it should not be reported to the police station. "Is there any surveillance?" I asked. "Why do we need surveillance? Aren't these all witnesses?" a parent asked. "The person who called the police just said he saw your brother pinning my son to the ground and beating him." What the police meant was that there was no surveillance in that alley. You mean my brother blocked 5 people in the alley and beat them up? Is that what you mean? I glanced at the boys lightly. Then these classmates should have a good relationship and make plans to walk together after school, right? After saying this, the head teacher also paused for a moment. 03. I didn't care about other people's reactions. I looked at the police officer in charge of this matter and said calmly, "There's no surveillance video in the alley where the fight took place, but are there no surveillance video in other places? I'd like to know who took the initiative to block whom today." "What do you mean? Are you still trying to say that it's my son who bullies your brother? He has such good grades, who would want to bother with your brother?" The police were indifferent. I sneered. "Why, this process is against regulations? Do I have to call Director Liu to check?" This sentence comes in handy afterwards. The clothes I wear are either rich or expensive, and clearly show the words, "not short of money," written all over them. Jacob's family has more connections than just this. We pay taxes according to the law and donate money when necessary. The government in High City has given our family some face. While the police were checking the surveillance footage, I walked up to Taylor. He lowered his head and didn't look at me. "The truth will be revealed later. If you are wrong, go and apologize." I paused, then continued, "My time is precious. I hope you won't make it difficult for me on this matter." After a while, the boy's dull voice came, "I didn't ask you to control me." He is still being stubborn at this time. "Yes, I know. Last time I asked my assistant to change your parent contact number at school to mine." The police were not always efficient. They quickly pulled out the surveillance cameras around the alley at the time. There was a clip that captured the boys laughing together, but Taylor appeared in the surveillance video shortly afterwards. When they saw Taylor, they pointed at each other, then followed Taylor into the alley, talking and laughing. There is no need to go into details about what happened afterwards. The faces of several parents were not happy, and the police and teachers had reached a conclusion in their minds. I couldn't help but chuckle. Is this my brother surrounding 5 classmates? One parent couldn't help but yell, "What's the matter with him beating my son like this? 5 can't beat 1, that makes sense, right?" My eyes swept over the boys hiding behind their parents. "Taylor, come here," I shouted. The boy who had been so unruly before now did not give me any sympathy and came over slowly. I didn't say anything, I just reached out and lifted up his shirt. Taylor didn't expect this and uttered I ignored him and looked at his waist and abdomen. There was a bruise on his side, and there were large and small wounds on other parts of his body, some of which were even old wounds. There was something wrong when I saw him sitting there just now. "You're so young, but you're so vicious," I said coldly. The scene was quite quiet. Even Taylor's class teacher was speechless when he saw the injuries on his body. "I wasn't there when parents were called last time, but I remember you paid for the medical expenses." "Who did you pay it to?" I asked Taylor. Taylor looked unhappy when this matter was mentioned, and he pointed at one of the 5 people. I laughed and turned to look at Taylor's homeroom teacher. "Teacher, I now suspect that some students in your school have taken the lead in long-term school bullying against my brother. I request that the school conduct a thorough investigation and punish those who should be punished or expel those who should be expelled. Let's file a case now. My brother should be the victim." When these words were spoken, the parents became anxious and started to say that their children had good conduct and it was impossible for them to bully their classmates. Taylor's parents, the head teacher said awkwardly, "You see, they are all students preparing for the college entrance examination. Isn't Taylor a senior student?" I whispered, "Why? They have good grades and their future cannot be delayed, but my brother can be one too? Is this the educational philosophy of your school?" "Of course not." I didn't have the patience to listen any further. "My lawyer will contact the school's leaders and parents. If your school is unable to handle this matter, I don't mind using my personal connections to raise the social attention and influence of this matter. I am not a good-tempered person, so if they provoke me, they will be in trouble." After leaving the police station, Taylor sat in my car without saying a word. The driver drove quietly in front, and he also seemed like a mute. I finished replying to the work message and turned to look at him. "Why didn't you say anything when you were bullied at school?" Although I can't cover the sky with one hand, it's no problem for me to vent his anger for him. Thinking back to the last time his parents were called in, although it was the assistant who went, Taylor felt that it was probably because some innocent person paid compensation to the person who bullied him. No wonder you don't like me. But even though he didn't like me before, I made the decision for him today, and it would be rude to turn my back on me again. This brat really ignores me. The car kept moving, and finally the mute next to me spoke. Where are you taking me? Isn't it too late to care about this issue now? I was in a good mood and turned to look at him. The car drove into Jacob's villa and slowly stopped. I got out of the car and knocked on the window. Taylor, do you want me to ask you to get out of the car? After a moment, Taylor got out of the car and followed me in. He said from behind, Why did you bring me here? The butler came up to me and said, Jacob. Then he looked at Taylor behind me, paused, and then called out, Mr. Taylor. What, Mr. Taylor? Taylor frowned. Take me back quickly. Who is Mr. Taylor? I sat on the couch and motioned for Taylor to sit too. The housekeeper went to make tea. The doctor will be here to apply medicine to you in a bit, I said calmly, and please stop looking so deadpan. You sound like you have something I can take advantage of. There is indeed something to gain, but he doesn't know it and I don't intend to tell him. There was silence between us until my family doctor showed up, gave Taylor's injuries a quick check, and then applied medicine and bandages. After taking off his shirt, the wounds on the boy's body looked even more horrifying. He lives alone and doesn't know how to treat his injuries. He looks a bit pitiful. It had nothing to do with me. If it weren't for my father's will, I wouldn't have such a kind heart. The doctor left the medicine and medical instructions and left soon. I sat across from him and said, Taylor, you are not yet an adult, right? It shouldn't be a bad thing for you to have an extra guardian at school. There's no need to resist me like this. Think about your own life. Do you really want to refuse my help just to save face? I took advantage of his silence and continued, You saw today that at least I didn't have to spend much effort dealing with your classmates. In a few days, they will all come to you to apologize. Of course, you don't have to forgive them. I won't interfere with your decision. Why are you helping me? After a while, the boy looked up at me and asked, They are not good people, and I am not necessarily a good person either. It doesn't matter. I'm neither a judge nor a policeman. I don't care about that. You just need to know that I'm on your side. I chuckled. People are biased, and I am biased by nature. I'm not blind. As long as Taylor can gain a moral advantage in this bullying, that's enough. Taylor, I'm serious. I looked at him and said, Stay here, I'll hire a tutor for you. You're a senior in high school now, don't you really want to think about your life? If you don't know what you want to do in the future, just do your duty as a student, experience the atmosphere of a good university, and then slowly find your future path. Study hard and you will never regret it, don't you think? 05. I persuaded Taylor to come back, but he still insisted on going back to get his luggage. To be honest, after he moves in with me, he won't have to worry about his food, clothing, housing, and transportation anymore. However, when I saw the young man walking in with his small luggage, I had the illusion that I was abducting an ignorant boy, probably because my purpose was not pure to begin with. Of course, I don't feel the slightest bit of guilt. This is clearly a win-win cooperation. I was really not bad to Taylor. My housekeeper bought him all kinds of new clothes, I had a driver to pick him up from school, and on weekends, a tutor would come to my house to tutor him in various subjects. This arrangement ensures that his senior year of high school will be fulfilling and happy. However, until the school has come to a conclusion on the issue of school bullying, he will not go to school and will study at home with a tutor. Taylor's school leaders called me several times, implying that since several students were in this important stage of their senior year, the parents begged me to be magnanimous and give their children a chance to apologize and also provide financial compensation. Taylor was sitting next to me during this call and I had the speakerphone on. Has your school verified the campus bullying behavior of those students? Does such behavior really exist? I asked. The person who claimed to be the principal started asking me, as a parent, to put myself in my child's shoes and talked about some big principles. If campus bullying is true, I hope your school will handle it according to relevant school rules and make the results public. If you let those students off the hook just because they are in their third year of high school, what will that do to the students who have been in a bullying environment for a long time? Is my brother the only victim? I continued, I will ask a psychologist to evaluate him in the near future. If there are any problems, I will continue to hold him accountable. Don't mention financial compensation to me anymore. Our family doesn't need it. After the phone call, I found that Taylor looked at me with a complicated expression. He said, I don't need to see a psychiatrist. I said calmly, cooperate with me so I can take the diagnosis report to your school to cause trouble. I had been planning to hire a psychologist. I always felt that this kid needed psychological counseling. The result was just as I expected. Taylor's mental condition was indeed not very healthy, but that was normal. How many people nowadays are completely mentally healthy? Not to mention Taylor or me, maybe the psychologist who came to give him psychological counseling also had some problems. At my request, the school punished the bullies. Everyone was punished, and some chose to transfer schools after being punished. Of course, this is just the school's punishment, and the legal consequences are not over yet. Although I didn't take advantage of public opinion, it seems that some students in the same school as Taylor posted the incident of school bullying on the internet. Sent from another person's perspective. I then realized that the reason Taylor was bullied was because he bravely helped a classmate who was being bullied. The video of that classmate was enough to give school leaders a headache. Compared to Taylor, a wolf cub who would fight back when beaten, ordinary teenage boys and girls don't have such a strong mentality. One boy even suffered from depression and had suicidal tendencies. This is the big news. Taylor's homeroom teacher and 2 other homeroom teachers resigned. 2 of the students who had been punished before were persuaded to drop out of school. The others were too embarrassed to stay, so some transferred to other schools while others dropped out. Of course I didn't do anything. I just had a little money and gave them some attention. 06. Taylor went back to school and had a new class teacher, so the original dean was transferred to another position. Although teachers may not know all the conflicts between students, it is impossible for them to be completely unaware of such serious conflicts. Maybe they just don't bother to care, but if this consequence happens, someone must be held responsible. That's not my concern. Now that Taylor's matter is over, I can focus on my work again. But I was obviously too happy too early. Looking at the Taylor placement test results that my tutor sent me, I felt my head hurt even more after being irritated by those old guys on the board during the day. Taylor looked at my expression and said after a moment, I told you, I'm not good at studying. I tried to calm my tone, looked at him and said, you're not a good student, but you can't have not studied for the past 2 years, right? Taylor was silent. I have never raised a child, but I have been a child and I know that corporal punishment is not a good approach to education. It's okay. I'll discuss it with your tutor tomorrow and make a new tutoring plan for you, I said after a pause. As long as you study, there will be a lot of room for improvement. I won't let you miss out on college. Even if I have to spend a lot of money, I can build a university for him. All the tutors I hired were top-notch teachers. Maybe Taylor aroused their desire to win, and they soon sent me a new tutoring plan. The first semester of senior year has just begun. From my point of view, as long as Taylor wants to learn, he can still make progress. His monthly exam was over and the results were quickly synced to me. Compared to before, the total score increased by dozens, although in my opinion, this result is still bad. But I have to admit that not everyone in this world is suitable for learning. I don't actually care much about Taylor's studies. Compared to him, company matters are naturally more important. Those old foxes were eager to see where I went wrong. I can say that I go out early and come back late every day, and I don't communicate much with Taylor, or rather, we are not very familiar with each other. After Taylor's midterm exam results came out, there was no improvement, but I didn't care. As long as he was willing to study hard, grades were not the most important thing to me. But at this moment, his head teacher called me and said that he had skipped class. I was socializing at a dinner table at the time. After I answered the phone, I stood up, apologized to my partner, and then left. I don't know if it was the alcohol or some other reason, but anger surged in my heart. I called Taylor, but he didn't answer. Afterwards, I drove to the internet cafe he used to go to look for him, but I couldn't find him. The owner of the internet cafe probably recognized him, and when he heard that I was Taylor's parent, he pointed me to a place. I found Taylor, who was completely drunk, in a bar not far away. I walked over expressionlessly, lifted his collar, and sneered, "You haven't even grown all your hair yet, and you're already learning how to drink?" Taylor was struggling at first, but paused after hearing my voice, and then forcefully brushed my hand away. "What are you doing here?" I looked at him and said calmly, "Your class teacher said you skipped class." "Why? Why?" He laughed after hearing that, but his tone became more and more excited. "Jacob, I was just about to ask you why. I don't like studying at all, and I can't learn well. You spent so much money on a tutor, but in the end I only got this low a score. You might as well leave me alone." 07. I don't feel anything about Taylor's impulsive words that were caused by his teenage self-esteem. I should have said that I don't require you to get into a prestigious university. As long as you study hard until the college entrance examination, it doesn't matter what you do in the exam. I have enough money to send him out for a promotion, but the prerequisite is that he must be obedient. Compared with the other half of the assets left by my father, I can still tell the difference between small money and big money. "What do you know?" Taylor's tone was filled with anger, and I didn't know if it was directed at me or himself. "You don't know the feeling of trying hard but not being able to learn. Didn't you get nervous when you encountered questions you didn't understand during the college entrance examination?" I saw many questions like this. "No," I looked at him and said, "I didn't take the college entrance examination." Taylor briefly looked confused at this statement. I then added, "I recommended you." He looked like he was closing himself off. I lifted him up and said in a cold voice, "In order to get into a good university, they have been studying hard since junior high school or even elementary school, getting up early and going to bed late every day. At the very least, they have been working hard for 3 years in high school, reciting texts every day, doing tons of questions, and restraining themselves from all kinds of lazy thoughts. In the end, they may not necessarily get the ideal results. How long have you been studying hard? Why do you think that you can surpass others who have worked hard for several years by studying for just 1 or 2 months? Do you think it was easy for me to be admitted as a free agent? There are many smart people in this world, and there are many smarter people who work harder than you." I stopped and looked at him. "You don't even have this much perseverance. How can you do better than others? Most people's IQs are at the same level. Don't look down on the value of hard work." I really don't like preaching to people. I'm tired of doing it after all this time. I came to look for someone today and delayed some work. Although it is not very important, I hope this will not happen again. I took Taylor back and sent a message to his class teacher to let him know he was safe. After sobering up, Taylor seemed to have figured things out a little bit, and he started studying again. As long as you are willing to learn. The tutor said that he is now more focused and has made some progress. I am very relieved. 08. I usually come back late from social events, and sometimes I'll run into Taylor still memorizing lessons or having a headache over math problems. It was already past midnight when I got back that night. I was walking while unbuttoning my tie. I was wearing a burgundy shirt tonight. I was a little hot from drinking too much, so I even unbuttoned the top 2 buttons. There was a sudden noise upstairs. I looked up and saw Taylor coming down the stairs in her pajamas. "You haven't slept yet?" I asked him. Still working on the test, Taylor looked at me and said, "How much did you drink?" There is no such thing as socializing without drinking. He went to the kitchen and soon brought me a glass of warm honey water. "Drink it, sober up." I was quite curious and said, "Taylor has grown up too?" Taylor glanced at me and asked, "Do you usually dress like this when you go out for social events?" "What's the problem?" I raised my eyelids to look at him. "Like a male model." He said something that deserved a beating. Being drunk, I sneered and continued, "Yes, yes, yes, I work as a male model outside to support my stepbrother's schooling. Is that inspiring enough?" Taylor. Now it was his turn to be silent. I drank the cup of honey water and looked up at him. "Why don't you go back and finish your homework and rest? Why are you watching over me?" Speaking of doing the exercises, the boy's face turned sour. There are too many questions I don't know how to answer. It's a headache. How difficult is what you are learning now? Why are you having such a hard time learning it? Let me go and show you, I said as I stood up shakily, and Taylor quickly reached out to support me. You're still trying to read the questions like this? Forget it. He still looked down on others. How hard can high school questions be? I can still do them even when I'm drunk. Taylor helped me walk 2 steps toward the stairs. Suddenly, he stopped and sniffed at me like a puppy. Then he said something shocking. Why do you smell like women's perfume? Are you really a male model? While socializing tonight, a lady did accidentally fall into my arms after getting drunk. She was wearing a strong scent of perfume, so I must have been the one who stained her with the scent. Kid, stop meddling in adult affairs, I said to him. Taylor was silent again. I rarely went into Taylor's bedroom. He said he didn't want to study, so the desk was moved in, and the place for studying and resting was the same. In my opinion, the math problems that stumped Taylor were of average difficulty. What on earth did he do in class for the past 2 years? Isn't it obvious at first glance that this is a geometric sequence? The sum of the first few terms must first be. I wrote and drew on his draft paper, and finally turned around to find that the boy was staring at my face and distracted. Look at the question, why are you looking at me? The answer is on my face. Taylor, can you please not say the same lines as my teacher? You're still being picky. Do the questions quickly and go to sleep after you're done. I sat next to him and watched him do his homework, not quite believing it, but finally I had to admit that I deserved the high salaries I paid my tutors. My bad temper makes me unsuitable for counseling. After the tutoring experience card ended, I deeply realized that some money should be earned by others. 09. Taylor's grades improved, but not much. It's just that his room for improvement is too huge, so if he works hard in the early stages, he can see significant results. But when he reaches a certain stage, he will hit a bottleneck, and it will be difficult to move forward to the next stage. At the end of his first semester, he was no longer at the bottom, but not in the middle either. During the winter vacation, the tutor comes to our house every day. However, it is also very important to care about the mental health of college entrance examination candidates. I plan to take Taylor out to play during the Chinese New Year. Anyway, we are just 2 people, so we can spend this year the way we want. I still have to go to work during Taylor's winter vacation. The company has been stable in the past few months. As long as nothing goes wrong, no one can shake my position. When I came back from social events in the evening, I ran into Taylor more and more often. I wondered if he was really as hardworking as I saw him. As the Chinese New Year approaches, I have more social engagements in the evening and come home later. One night, I came back almost 1 o'clock and started taking off my clothes while standing in the living room. It was raining heavily when we came back. I gave the umbrella in the car to a female customer. I got a little wet. The rain got in through the gap of my neck and even my underwear was wet. Taylor came downstairs with a cup of water and stood behind me. When I turned around, his eyes dodged for a moment. I'm happy. How is it, brother? Don't you have a good figure? Don't be embarrassed. The girls at the gym all praised me for my good training. Taylor. No matter how much I boasted, I didn't want to get sick so close to the year end, so I quickly went upstairs to take a hot bath. After taking a shower, I went to Taylor's room and saw that he was still doing English homework. I explained some grammar to him. For a while, Taylor was silent as he looked at the questions of the type that he had almost gotten right after my guidance. I am your brother and I have money. Otherwise, the education industry would have to have one more gold medal teacher. The teachers here are paid quite well. Facts speak louder than words. Taylor couldn't say anything against me. I can still get a sense of accomplishment from him, as he has squeezed into his current ranking from being a bottom-ranked student. This is our joint effort. I gave Taylor a holiday during the Chinese New Year and took him to visit several countries in Europe, combining work and rest. But he also brought a workbook with him when he traveled, which made me very happy. After the New Year, he continued to go to school and I went to work. It was not long before his 100-day oath-taking ceremony, which coincided with his 18th birthday. This was also the first time I raised a child of this age. After thinking about it, I took some time out to participate in his school activities as a parent and also asked for half a day off for him and his teacher. In the private room I booked, the waiter brought out a birthday cake with candles on it. "Happy birthday, Taylor," I said to him. When raising a child for the first time, there must be a sense of ritual. Taylor made a wish to the cake and he looked quite pious. I felt a little relieved. Who would have thought that this kid was on the verge of being expelled from school a few months ago? "What did you wish for?" Taylor didn't tell me. He said the wish wouldn't come true if he spoke it out loud. I smiled, and then I heard him ask, "What if I really don't get into college? Will you be disappointed?" This is a very interesting question. I raised my eyebrows. "Do you think you took the college entrance exam for me? As long as you do your best, I won't be disappointed, even if you do really badly in the college entrance examination. As for things that are within my ability, there is no such thing as disappointment." The time before the college entrance examination passed quickly, but before that, Taylor and I told the college entrance examination was not the only path in life and we should just treat it with a normal attitude. However, he became even more obsessed with sleep and food than before. His head teacher told me that he has made great progress and if he keeps up the progress, he still has hope of getting into a top university. He started too late and his foundation is too poor. He is smart, but that can't make up for the time wasted in the past. During the 2 or 3 days before the college entrance examination, Taylor asked me if I could take him to the examination room. It's just a few days, no big deal, so I agreed to it. Even on the last day, when he came out of the examination room, I bought him a bouquet of flowers like other parents did. Taylor complained that the Freud flowers I picked for him were too gaudy, but he went home, took photos, and followed the online tutorial to arrange flowers in a vase. The kid had no idea that the vase he picked up casually cost tens of thousands of dollars. Before the college entrance examination results came out, I approved some travel funds for him to go out and see the world. Taylor looked at me and said, "Jacob, do you want to come with me? I have to go to work, unlike you guys who just finished the college entrance examination." I refused. "You can ask your classmates to go with you. We can go anywhere. Just tell me." As I raised this child, I began to develop some affection for him. Taylor went out for a trip and sent me a lot of travel photos. I also have a lot of friends outside, so if I meet someone nearby, I will ask my friends to take him out to play. After playing for about 20 days, Taylor's hair became visibly darker. I don't know if it's my illusion, but he seems to have grown a little taller. In less than a year, his nutrition was sufficient and he was still at the age of growing up, so it was normal. On the day when the college entrance examination results came out, I got up in the morning to go to work and found Taylor already sitting in the living room. "Did you wake up early or did you not sleep at all last night?" Taylor still had some red bloodshot in his eyes. Anyway, the results are determined on the day of the exam, so why be nervous? This is probably something that people like me who have never taken the college entrance examination cannot understand. I had just returned to the office after a meeting in the morning when I received a message from Taylor. He sent a screenshot of his grades, followed by a voice message. I clicked on the voice message first, and Taylor's voice was full of excitement. "Look, I'm in college." I just finished listening to it, and this voice message was withdrawn. This seemed to be the first time he called me brother. I clicked on the screenshot of the results and was indeed a little surprised. This score is probably 20 to 30 points higher than Taylor's last mock exam before the college entrance examination. On average, he scored a few more points in each subject, but it was definitely not an easy task. The score line has also come out, and Taylor's score has passed the first tier line, which is about 20 points higher. I can't go to a very good school, but it's worth it for nearly a year of hard work. Filling out the application form is also a difficult problem. His score is a bit embarrassing. It seems that he can make an effort to improve, but he is also afraid that he cannot make it. I did not interfere with his application. There is a pretty good university in High City, so he applied for it. I don't know if he will be lucky enough this year. When the admission results came out, he was lucky enough, but he didn't get into the major he wanted, so he was transferred. The old man's last wish for me to take care of his stepson until he graduated from college was now half fulfilled. 11. I became more and more comfortable in the company, And U Group also prospered under my leadership. Taylor became a lot more sensible after entering college. He would occasionally share his life with me, such as photos of military training and meals in the cafeteria. He looked much more cheerful. At least it's much better than its original gloomy appearance. As a college student, he naturally comes home less often. He usually doesn't come back on weekends, but he does come back for a few days during short holidays and winter and summer vacations. I suddenly felt like an empty nest elderly person. After the first semester of his freshman year, Taylor applied to change his major and went to the computer science department, which he liked. To be honest, I was quite surprised. Mathematics used to be his biggest headache, but now he is studying a major that may involve this. But this is his choice, and it's no big deal. As long as he studies hard, graduating successfully will not be a problem. Every time Taylor comes back after going to college, I feel like my child has grown up again. He gradually grew taller than me. I don't know what sports he played, but he was tall and strong, the kind of handsome guy that little girls would like. He should be very popular. As for my relationship with him, it's okay. He will remember to give me a gift and say a blessing on my birthday, but it seems awkward. After Taylor entered his junior year, I was 27 years old and people around me reminded me that it was time to consider getting married. Over the years, my focus has been on work. There are suitors around me, both men and women, but in my opinion, it seems unnecessary to consider love after excluding physical needs. The environment I grew up in was not healthy, but I had too many material things. To put it bluntly, I didn't understand the feeling of love and I didn't think I needed such things. I'm lucky enough, so it's no big deal if I don't have the ability to love. The love that most people talk about is also hypocritical. It was the weekend and I had a private appointment. When I got home it was already late at night and I was drunk. But I didn't expect Taylor to come back today. The lights in the hall on the first floor were not fully turned on, and it was dark over there on the sofa. I was stunned for a moment when I saw him. "Why are you back today?" Taylor was looking at something and suddenly stood up and looked at me. He had his back to the light and his expression looked particularly gloomy. "Are you going on a blind date?" he asked me. Then I realized that he had just been looking through the information on the coffee table. There were information about quite a few girls on it. An elder had sent it to me a few days ago, saying that he could get in touch with all the girls listed there. There are no photos on it, just some information about age, education, and family background. Some of them are my WeChat friends. I looked at Taylor with a bit of amusement. "I'm already 27 years old, it's time to think about getting married, isn't blind dating normal?" The alcohol was a bit in my head, so I sat down on the sofa. After I said that, Taylor fell silent for some reason. I was drunk, so I said to him, "Don't worry, I will definitely find you a well-educated and well-mannered sister-in-law. She will not be unwelcoming to you. Also, I probably won't get married before you graduate," I told him. This is the true word. I will most likely look for a marriage partner in the same class as any marriage will create conflicts of interest. I will not marry until the remaining half of my father's estate is in my name. I'm not that stupid. Taylor probably didn't understand the meaning of this sentence. He snorted for some reason. "Why, are you waiting to ask me to be your best man?" I was amused by his words. "I trained you for several years, but in the end you are not even willing to be the best man, you ungrateful little bastard." Taylor stood up, walked over to pull me up, and said expressionlessly, "I'll help you upstairs." He has done this job many times. He placed my hand on his shoulder and his other arm around my waist. "You've grown so tall now?" When he was so close, I had to look up to see his face clearly. She has deep facial features, a high nose bridge, and beautiful lips. "You're so handsome now. Do you have a girlfriend at school?" I asked him. Taylor's breathing seemed a little unstable. He helped me back to the room, put me on the bed, and said to me, "Does it have to be a girlfriend? Can't I have a boyfriend?" I was stunned when I heard that, and raised my eyes to meet his, unable to tell whether his words were true or false. "But it doesn't matter. It's okay for you to like men, but remember not to harm girls." This was my advice to him. There are homosexuals around me, but in this era, sexual orientation is free. After Taylor came back that time, he didn't come back for a long time. He is a junior now and should be busy with his internship. I had asked him before if he wanted me to help him find an internship, but he refused. He looks like a man who has changed a lot since he grew up. I don't know when I started to become silent. I think he talks less. But it's not very important. He interned in the school laboratory during the winter break of his junior year and didn't come back until almost the Chinese New Year. I took him to meet some friends. Almost everyone in my circle knows that my father and stepmother passed away unexpectedly, and I was so insane that I had to raise my stepbrother. They probably thought I was sick before. Some of these people are true friends, and some are just superficial friends. I'm not bad to Taylor, but I'm still using him. I'll introduce him to some connections that may be useful in the future. It just so happened that the girl I recently met was sitting on the other side of me. She and I have known each other for many years, and it was only recently that we discussed whether we should live together in the future. She was quite enthusiastic towards Taylor, twisting my clothes and whispering to me, "Why didn't you tell me earlier that your non-blood brother is so handsome? It would be great if he was your biological brother." It seemed that the young lady was moved. She likes the kind of men who are cool, handsome, and wild. I don't meet these conditions. It was the first time that Taylor appeared in public with me. Many people toasted him with drinks. Taylor drank them all and seemed to be in a bad mood. After the party ended, I helped Taylor into the car. He was even drunker than me. After getting in the car, he leaned his head on my shoulder. His breath was hot, but I didn't pay any attention to him. On the way back, I closed my eyes and rested. As the new year approaches, there are a lot of things to do and my head hurts. When the car stopped, I continued to help Taylor get out, with most of his weight resting on me. He is now taller, stronger, and a little heavier than me. It took me a lot of effort to help him upstairs. I pushed open his door, and when I was about to put him on the bed, I accidentally tripped over his chair, and both Taylor and I fell onto the bed. Taylor was on top of me. He finally opened his eyes and looked at me. "Taylor, get out of the way." He didn't move, and no one knew what was going on in his mind. Just when I wanted to reach out and push him away, he suddenly said, "Brother." I was caught off guard and froze for a moment. This was the first time Taylor called me brother to my face. We have no blood relationship at all, so naturally we can't be considered real brothers, but at least I have taken care of him for a few years, so he can be considered half a younger brother. After he shouted that, he suddenly laughed meaningfully, then lowered his head and buried it in my neck, his warm breath spraying on my neck. A strange feeling rose from the bottom of my heart. It felt strange, our bodies pressed together, face to face. "Taylor," I yelled again, "get up." He moved a bit, then propped himself up, kept a distance between himself and looked down at me. Even at such a close distance, I could actually see some aggression in his eyes. I was about to get up when he put his hand on my shoulder. Taylor's eyes were full of drunkenness, and his gaze moved down little by little. I didn't know where he was looking, but he wasn't looking at my eyes, maybe at his chin or neck. But the next moment, he lowered his head without any warning and kissed my lips. My eyes widened. Taylor showed no sign of stopping. He sucked my lips and tried to explore deeper. I had never known he was so strong. He was like a wall and I couldn't push him away. My mind was confused at that moment. I wanted to curse him, but as soon as I opened my mouth, he found an opportunity to speak in. In Taylor's room, on his bed, we were kissing. This realization made my mind a mess, and then I was furious. I bit him. Taylor finally let go, with a cut on his lip, bleeding. I raised my hand and slapped him hard. The sound echoed in his bedroom, very crisp. Taylor's face tilted to one side, and a red mark appeared on his face. "Taylor, are you crazy? Do you see who I am?" I didn't hide my anger. I reached out and finally pushed him away and sat up. Taylor staggered and knelt on one knee in front of me. He looked up at me and suddenly reached out to put my palm close to his cheek again, with a half-drunk smile in his tone. "Brother, slap me harder." He is crazy. When I left his room that night, Taylor was still kneeling on the floor, and I ignored him. I never imagined that one day I would let a wolf into my house. I was so angry that I wanted to beat him up again that night. The next morning, Taylor came downstairs during breakfast. He looked normal, except for the wound on his lip that was particularly noticeable. The housekeeper also asked about his lips. At that moment, I clearly felt Taylor's eyes on me. After a moment, I heard him say, "Nothing, I just feel a little irritated recently." I didn't talk to him. The silence between us continued until we were the only two left in the living room. His eyes were always on me, until I raised my eyes and met his gaze. "Taylor, you should move out," I said. "I'll have someone find you a house out there." This is the solution I came up with after thinking about it for most of the night. "Brother, are you going to chase me away?" For some reason, his eyes looked sad. "Don't call me that." I used to tease him about why he didn't call me brother, but now I feel that this title is not nice at all. Taylor approached. His body shape was different from his previous teenage appearance, but he was still young and powerful. He asked me, "Because I like you, can't I stay?" Taylor didn't want to live here, but I forced him to stay. "Taylor, you know I'm your brother. I'm 7 years older than you. What on earth are you thinking about?" "I know what I'm doing." He looked me in the eyes of a wolf cub. I stared back and told him, "Taylor, I don't like men." This one sentence broke Taylor's mind. Taylor left the villa after that day and he did not return. I asked someone to find him a house outside, but he refused to buy one. I spent this year's New Year alone. It was a rare, quiet, and lonely year. In the second semester of his junior year, Taylor participated in various competitions with his seniors and won many awards. He also refused the living expenses that I asked his assistant to send him. He seems to have a bright future and will be able to gain a foothold in society even without my help. It is not a problem to find a job in a good company after graduation. When he gets his diploma next June, I will inherit the rest of the estate. My blind date fell through, and my marriage partner said she still wanted to play for another 2 years and didn't want to hold me back. In fact, I know that she has fallen in love with a man with no background outside and wants to continue dating for 2 years. It's not a big problem. There is no need to rush to get married. I thought about it, and the concept of family inheritance is actually not very important to me. Have another child like me like my father and my mother did? It's better to just be a dink. But I didn't expect that someone wanted my child more than I did. At a social gathering, while toasting each other, I accidentally drank a glass of wine that tasted bad. When I realized that I was still thirsty in the air-conditioned room, I became alert. A sweet voice said beside me, "Jacob, have you drunk too much? I'll help you to rest." I shook off the hand and said calmly, "I'm going to the bathroom." Washing your face with cold water will not relieve the heat in your body. I need to go back first. I took out my cell phone and called the driver before I slowly walked out. The evening breeze blew and I felt much better, but I still felt hot. I don't know what kind of medicine is so powerful. It makes me feel extremely uncomfortable in just this short period of time. There was still some distance to the parking spot, and I felt my steps were a little weak. I accidentally tripped over a stone pillar on the side of the road. Just as I staggered, a pair of hands suddenly supported me. I turned around and unexpectedly saw a familiar face. Taylor appeared here in a suit and tie, looking quite authentic. "Jacob, what's wrong with you?" he asked. I didn't want to listen to what he said, so I waved my hand and said, "I'm fine." Perhaps I didn't look okay at all, so when he helped me into the car, he didn't leave, but got in with me. In the car, I couldn't help but pull open my collar. It's hot. Taylor noticed something was wrong with me and asked if I wanted to go to the hospital, but I refused. But when I continued to unbutton my clothes, he suddenly reached out and held my hand. Back at the villa, he helped me upstairs. "Jacob, what's wrong with you?" he asked. He came so close that I had to speak up, "You go out first." But he quickly saw what was wrong with me. We were both men, so some of his reactions were obvious. Taylor's eyes fell on my face, leaned over to look at me, and suddenly said, "Brother, do you want me to help you?" Roll. Taylor didn't listen to me. He reached out and pinched my face in a treacherous way. "Brother, you look miserable." I really didn't want to bother with him, so I slapped his hand away and said, "Taylor, get out of here now." He laughed for some reason. "You want to send me out so you can do it yourself?" Taylor suddenly reached out and poked me, and I was not prepared. Then his laughter rang out again. "Brother, believe me, I am definitely better than you." As he said this, he had already started. At that moment, my brain seemed to have exploded like fireworks and I couldn't react. The light in the bedroom was on the dimmest setting, and my eyes kept staring at the light above my head as layers of feelings came over me like waves. Taylor was lying on his side next to me, his hands playing around, and he would lean in to kiss me from time to time. His lips and tongue are also soft. After a while, he sat up, and I don't know what he was thinking about, then he suddenly knelt on one knee in front of me. "Taylor, what are you doing? Get up." I didn't finish my words and my voice stopped unexpectedly. My vision became blurry. 15. When I woke up the next day, the bed was made, my clothes were changed, and Taylor had left. After watching the surveillance video at the door, I realized that he left overnight. Thinking back to what happened last night, my head is spinning. Crossing the line. It wasn't just Taylor, I crossed the line too. Before I fell asleep last night, I vaguely heard Taylor say in my ear that we can just pretend nothing happened. The marks on my inner thighs took several days to disappear. Bastard. For several days, I didn't contact Taylor, just as he said, and pretended nothing had happened. Time passed, Taylor's senior year seemed to be going well, and I didn't pay as much attention to him as before. I have a new male suitor around me. He is the youngest son of the partner's family. He is spoiled to death and has a lot of fun. He is bold enough to have ideas about me. They even chased me home and blocked my door. "Jacob, why don't you talk to me? I promise you'll never want to leave after you've tasted a man." I looked at him calmly. "Mr. Chen, what? Do you want me to go up?" He laughed and advised me, "It's very comfortable lying down. If you really want to be on top, I can let you try it." He said he really liked me and could try being down there. Before I could say anything else, the person blocking my way was suddenly pushed away, and Taylor appeared. Taylor was like an angry wolf cub, grabbing the man's collar and about to beat him. I was afraid that he would cause me trouble, so I hurriedly said, "Taylor, stop it." He still punched him. Mr. Chin got into his car and left in a panic. Taylor followed me into the house with a sullen face, and then followed me into the study. I wanted to talk to him about something, but as soon as the door closed, he pushed me behind it. "Jacob." He didn't call me brother, but looked me straight in the eyes. "If men can do it, why can't it be me?" His eyes were slightly red, and he looked very aggrieved, but his tone was very tough. I said, "Nothing happened about that night. Do you really think nothing happened? Did I not serve you well? I'm your brother." "I know, we're not related by blood," he said. Taylor put his head on my shoulder, leaning against me, and said in a low and pleading tone, "Brother, please wait for me, I will be worthy of you." His kisses fell on my neck, tentative at first, then becoming more wanton. No alcohol and no drugs. I don't know what happened to me. I actually indulged his outrage. Seeing him kneeling in front of me and looking up at me, I felt a double sense of physical and mental pleasure. His hair is of good quality and feels great to hold. 16. I don't know if Taylor and I are together. I can tolerate him kissing me when no one is around and we can relieve each other, but we don't mention a relationship. I have to admit that our relationship was developing in a distorted direction. Taylor moved back, but he had his own bedroom and didn't sleep in it, so he always came over in the middle of the night. We were having an affair like we were in our own home. Until one night in the second semester of his senior year when he came home drunk, I had no idea what he was doing specifically. He is now working with a senior to create a studio. I had already turned off the lights and gone to bed, but was woken up by his noise. He came over and kissed me, with a smell of alcohol in his mouth, not bad, and his hand reached into my pajamas. "Brother, are we together?" he asked me in the dark. After a moment of silence, I hummed. Taylor got excited. He kissed me again and again, saying he liked me, until I looked into his eyes in the dim light and said, "I like you too." This made him even more excited, both physically and mentally. I was confused by his kiss and words and let go. I fell asleep at dawn that night. People without experience have really poor skills. I didn't let him do anything for a long time after that day. I also took some time to go to the day when Taylor took his graduation photos, gave him a bouquet of flowers, and took a photo with him. "Brother, this is the second bouquet of flowers you gave me." He still remembered the bouquet of flowers he gave him when he graduated from high school. Taylor successfully obtained his diploma. After graduation, he continued to start a business in the studio with his seniors. The other half of the inheritance left by my father is finally in my name after 5 years. I happened to be at home the day the lawyer came to my house, but Taylor was not there. It was a weekday and he had gone to work. Since we were on our own turf, I was too lazy to ask the lawyer to invite me upstairs, so I just talked in the living room. This is not a secret. It so happened that Taylor went out that day and left his USB drive at home. When he came back to get it, he caught me talking to the lawyer about my father's inheritance. When Taylor appeared, I thought to myself that something was wrong. I told the lawyer that we could talk about this another day, and then I sent him out. When I returned to the living room, Taylor had already read the part of the contract that the lawyer left on the coffee table. He looked up at me with a gloomy expression. "Brother, is this the reason why you took me in? Just to inherit the inheritance?" I looked at him and answered him calmly, "Yes. Otherwise, I can't think of any reason for me to do this ridiculous thing to save a teenager's future." His mother may have bewitched my father so much that he tried to hinder me with the inheritance early on. The years I spent raising him were essentially also earned by his late mother. Then what am I? He stood up and pointed at himself and asked me, "Who is he?" This question actually depends on how he thinks. But before I could even open my mouth, Taylor said, "Stop talking. I don't want to hear it." He ran away from home. 17. I didn't realize this until almost 10 o'clock in the evening when he hadn't come back, had no news, and even didn't answer my calls. After thinking for a moment, I called his senior in the studio. I have met people from his studio before and have their contact information. When I arrived at the bar, Taylor's senior saw me first and waved at me. At the same time, I also saw Taylor. There were empty bottles scattered on the table. There was a sexy young girl sitting on each side of him, drinking with him. This scene made me so angry. The moment I turned around and left, Taylor looked up and saw me. The moment he saw me, there was a flash of panic in his expression. When I walked to the parking lot and prepared to get in the car to leave, Taylor staggered after me. He didn't stand firmly and fell in front of me, then hugged my legs. "Brother, don't be angry. I didn't have anything with those other women. They were just selling wine. Let go, you can drink with whoever you want." Not only did he not let go, he held on even tighter. "Brother, I was wrong." He pressed his face against my legs, his tears soaking my pants. "Don't break up with me, I don't want to break up. Don't abandon me after you get the inheritance." When did I say I wouldn't want you once I got the inheritance? I didn't know what was going on in his mind. He looked up at me, his eyes were red, tears wet his eyelashes, and he looked a little pitiful. But I knew that this guy was not like that by nature, he was full of brute force. "Real? Does my taking the inheritance conflict with being with you?" I asked him. Taylor followed me into the car obediently and looked at me quietly from the passenger seat. When he got home, his senior sent him the bill. This kid was coaxed by the marketing staff into drinking tens of thousands of dollars worth of wine. He is really something. I transferred the money to his senior. Taylor looked like he was afraid I'd be angry, but he still insisted on sleeping in my bed. "Brother, I'm taking a shower and brushing my teeth. Can you smell it?" He took advantage of his drunkenness to get more out of his situation. I got annoyed and turned over to stare at him. "Are you drunk or not?" "Drunk." Taylor and I looked at each other, like drunkenness. 1 year after Taylor graduated, the studio he co-founded with his senior released its first game, which was fortunately a hit right after it went online. A big company wanted to acquire their studio, but they refused. Not long after, Taylor solemnly handed me his card one night and told me the password. I looked at the card in my hand and chuckled. "I don't need your money." "I know you earn more than me and have more money than me," Taylor said. "This is my salary card. I will earn more in the future and I will deposit it into this card for you. You just need to give me living expenses every month." He said he just wanted the feeling of being controlled. But I still accepted the card and spent Taylor's money every month as he requested. He is young and insecure. Over the next few years, just as Taylor had promised, he made more money than before, and their small studio became a company. He also became President Ning and a mature and handsome man. He usually wears a suit and tie when going out, but I like him in a black shirt. The contrast between his serious appearance and wildness is deadly. Taylor came over from behind, put his arms around my waist and kissed my neck. "Happy birthday, brother. I'm already in my early 30s. What's there to be happy about?" I also became sensitive about my age. Taylor chuckled, "You are more attractive than in previous years." He put a silver ring on my left ring finger, and then I found out that he also had the same one on his left hand. "Brother, I love you," he said. I turned and looked him in the eyes, then leaned in and kissed him softly. "I love you too."